Thanks to 512 Audio for sponsoring a portion of this video.
Okay.
Right here?
Yeah. So I looked over your script last night, 13 Pro, S21 Ultra. Normally we do like the blind camera test part of it.
Yeah.
Here you go.
I have to pick?
Yep.
Okay. How'd I do?
Of the nine examples there, you got...
Oh no! Can we shoot that over?
No.
Okay, so that was obviously not the typical way we tend to start our versus videos. The guys, and I'm blaming JD, decided to have a bit of fun, surprise me with a blind camera test. We'll get to that in a second. But today, talking about two phones that are at the top of their weight class. We've got Apple's newly released iPhone 13 Pro and also the Pro Max, and we're comparing it against Samsung's current best offering, the Galaxy S21 Ultra. And this time of year, we're ordinarily be talking about the Note versus the iPhone, but seeing as there's no Note this year, the S21 Ultra is sort of the king of Samsung's lineup, and when the S22 comes out, we'll update this, but since these phones don't come out at the same time of year, as good as we can get for right now. And as all of the versus videos here, there will be a winner. I'm not gonna cop out and do like, oh, whatever works for you answer. At the end, we'll definitively pick which one of these two phones comes out on top. And my favorite way to start all of this is always a blind camera test, but we didn't do it the way we normally do it. Don't judge me here on my results. They were honest, and they didn't go as well as I would have hoped. So I have what you see. I have A and B, and then the camera came from. I have never seen these pictures before. Let's see if I can guess them. I'm gonna go A, a Samsung. It's a little contrasty. That's my go-to metric. All right, another wide angle shot. I'm gonna go A, a Samsung again for the wide angle. Another wide angle shot. Looking at the sky here. I'm gonna go B for Samsung. Still wide angle. I'm gonna go B for Samsung. Macro mode, okay. A is Samsung. The B looks really good, and the iPhone's macro is pretty awesome. Telephoto, 3 times. A is Samsung, B is the iPhone. Portrait mode. Just looking at the little cutouts there. B is Samsung, A is the iPhone. For this one, for low light shots, A is Samsung, B is the iPhone. I'm looking at the plant in the back, it looks clear on B. Night mode. B is Samsung, A is the iPhone. That's it.
Okay, so you ready to hear the results?
How'd I do?
Of the nine examples there, you got 3 correct.
Oh no! That's embarrassing. Can we shoot that over?
No.
Alright, so I got 3 out of 9 right, which sounds bad, but if I phrased it as like a 1/3 correct, it sounds better in my head. And I think I still have ingrained that Samsung's phones and Samsung's photographs take very contrasty photos, and the iPhone takes very muted pictures. That's how I've always thought about these devices, because that's the way it's been. This year, the iPhone tend to look a little more contrasty, a little more vibrant. Not more saturated, just more vibrant. And I wasn't used to that, and I'm blaming that for throwing me for a loop, whereas the S21 Ultra tends to mute things down a little bit, where Samsung just made it like super poppy. So that's what got me, at least what I think, got me with these photo tests. Could you have gotten any better? Like, I'm gonna say that most people couldn't have gotten more than like 5 of them correct. And so as much as Apple likes to get on stage and talk about how amazing their cameras are, look how good Samsung's are. And this is a device that came out like back in January. We're only a few months from the next generation coming out It's really impressive, and Samsung for years has been getting better and better with their computational photography, and I think it's culminated here in the S21 Ultra. So I was very impressed and quite frankly surprised. But what wasn't surprising is a difference in video. Video has been like iPhone's bread and butter for a while now, and Android's been making giant strides in catching up to that. In fact, when the S21 Ultra came out, I put it largely on par with the iPhone 12 Pro's video, which is really solid. And granted, each phone processed the video slightly differently, but still the video that came out of the S21 Ultra was objectively really good. But because these phones again didn't come out at the same time, we now have the next generation. And the iPhone 13 Pro is out. Really, any of the 13 models, really not just the Pro, are all better than the S21 Ultra's video. I assume that'll change when the S22 comes out, but for right now, it's pretty clear. And Apple firmly reclaimed the crown for video, even if it's just in regular mode, without having to add in any of the extra fluff like cinematic mode to the conversation in comparison. But while we're at it, let's compare that too. The S21 Ultra does have its own portrait video mode that works better in some ways, but not in every way. So doing a test with fine details between the two, you can see the S21 Ultra is doing a better job cutting around the complicated edges of that fake plant. The iPhone's doing a pretty good job, but I think not as good, which honestly checks out. Samsung's had a few years to refine their sort of portrait video software, whereas this is Apple's freshman iteration of it. However, the overall exposure and color of the iPhone is far better than the S21, which to me matters more. So take a look at the outdoor example. You can see the iPhone is adding some shallow depth of field towards the bottom of the plants, but the S21 Ultra's portrait video just doesn't know at all what to do with the scene, so it doesn't add in depth effect really at all. But as far as overall cameras on both go, clearly both photos look really good and video looks really good. And look, I've seen the comments everywhere that anytime cinematic mode or macro mode is mentioned, it takes less than a half a second for someone to respond with, "Ooh, Samsung did it first." I mean, yeah, you're right, they did. But as you go through life and sort of phone iterations, start to realize that people rarely remember who did it first, and always remember who did it best. And I feel that's exactly what's happening here. So Samsung photos and videos are incredible. They were incredible in late January 2021 when it came out, and they're incredible now. And prior to the iPhone 13 coming out, I would have said that it was the best camera system on any phone ever. But now that the iPhone 13 Pro is here, I don't think I can say that anymore. While the S21 Ultra does have extra capabilities with their 10, 30, and 100 times zoom, which is awesome, and I use the zoom a lot, and if those matter to you, then the S21 Ultra might edge this out, but it's not a big enough reason to say it's better. Now, when the S22 Ultra does come out, we will revisit this comparison, and perhaps the results will be vastly different. But with these phones right now, for the most part, when I'm deciding which camera system between the two phones is better, I'm simply thinking about the most simplistic form of photos, where the average person is just taking out their phone, snaps a picture, and puts it back in their pocket. No special modes, no tweaking, no editing, no weird filters happening. Just taking a photo with your phone. Between these two, fancy features aside, I think the iPhone 13 Pro takes overall better photos and videos in more scenarios than the S21 Ultra does. So while the cameras on both of these phones are obviously awesome, if you want to use it for real content creation, you're gonna need one of these, an external microphone. This is the Limelight from 512 Audio. It's a new Austin-based company, the same brains behind Warm Audio, so they know what they were doing. If you've been looking for ways to take your content creation up a level, you'd be surprised at what a huge difference audio fidelity makes. So you may not know it, but I actually host 2 shows on Snapchat, and external mics like this are exactly what I need to make those shows sound good. So this guy here is the Limelight. It's a pretty dynamic mic. It's got custom tuned frequency response. It's gonna focus on voice and speech. So it's perfect for voiceover and perfect for podcasts. If you're in a studio setting, you're gonna wanna step up too. Meet the Skylight. So this guy has a large diaphragm condenser capsule, which you can clearly see on top, and that's gonna deliver a really rich sound. It's got voice tailored frequency response to capture sort of the warmth and detail of speech and singing. This is a really great mic for musicians, podcasts, and voiceovers. So what you should hear when it's all set up is really just a clear, smooth sound, isolated version of your voice that sounds up front and center where your listeners will sort of feel like they're just sitting across the table from you, having a normal conversation. And I should say that this whole part of the video, all the audio you're hearing, was done with the mic that's been in front of me. If you're ready to step up your podcast game, your voiceover game, you're an aspiring musician, you want your audio to sound better to match the awesome video, check out the really amazing products from 512 Audio. We'll put a link to them down below. All right, so I can't believe it, but I think we're finally at a point where I don't have to yell, scream about 120 hertz anymore, at least on the Pro versions of the iPhone. But at least we're here. The 120 hertz displays on both devices, I've made a lot of videos on, sent countless tweets about them and how the iPhone needs 120 hertz. And I want to express how happy I am that I no longer have to have this gripe with Apple. So it should be no surprise that both screens are absolutely gorgeous. Both smooth and responsive colors, poppy and vibrant blacks are perfectly black, both look great in direct sunlight. I have no complaints here. Normally the notch on the iPhone just sort of disappears from me, so I've looked at it for so many years and I don't notice it. Every time I hold a Samsung device, I see the hole punch camera at the top, and it makes me hope that the iPhone 14 rumors are true and these two phones, as far as the screen goes, look even more similar a year from now. So design for both, I think, is great. Kind of relatively iterative, especially on the iPhone side. The S21 did get some design changes, especially the Ultra's camera bump being the largest change. Well, the iPhone cameras basically look the same, except just chunkier right now. I love the way Samsung's phones look. I love the feel of the phones. I love the fact that there aren't fingerprint magnets on the back. I love the matte look of them. I am all on board for Samsung's current design language, whereas what we have now with the iPhone looks like the iPhone 12 Pro did before it. Both screens are obviously amazing. Heck, Samsung made most of the displays on Apple's phones, but I still think to this day, there's no manufacturer that can beat Samsung displays. Plus, Samsung gives you the options however you want to scale resolution, whereas on the iPhone, you were kind of stuck. I think Apple does a better job sort of scaling up and down the hertz from 120 down to 10. But I'm picking both of these based on display and build. S21 Ultra for me. So on the inside, it's a bit of a different story. On paper, the S21 Ultra is Snapdragon 888 with up to 16 gigs of RAM. Sounds like it is going to wipe the floor with the iPhone. The A15 chip is an absolute beast, even with that's like, gonna quote measly, 6 gigabytes of RAM. The 888 is incredible. Heck, I even helped announce the 888 for Qualcomm. That's how much I like this thing, and it's been instrumental in elevating Android's photo and video processing. But there's still nothing like Apple's A series of chips. It sets the standard year after year and sort of makes me excited to see how Android phones are going to respond to it. And for asking me which one is technically better, it's the A15. But I would challenge anyone to be able to tell a difference between these two chipsets in these two phones with the day-to-day usage. They're both unbelievably fast. So what's left between these two phones to compare? Not that much, but the things that are left do matter. Battery life is great on both phones. The iPhone 13 Pro has a little bit bigger than 3,000 milliamp hour battery, whereas the S21 Ultra's got a big old chonker at 5,000 milliamp hours, which you'd think the S21 Ultra would crush the 13 Pro. They're actually getting pretty close to the same battery life. So chalk it up to the A15, and I think it's incredible optimization. But if you like the bigger versions of the phones, and you're rocking the 13 Pro Max with its 4,300 milliamp hour battery, a little bit larger than that, it's the battery king. The S21 Ultra could easily go a full day from the time I got up to sort of walking around, doing what I'm doing my whole day, and then go to sleep. I still had battery left. With the 13 Pro Max though, I can go almost 2 days without charging at normal usage, and for somebody who has a lot of screen on time, that's bonkers. I mean, both of these have insane battery life. Even the regular 13 Pro, honestly, most people won't go 2 days without charging their phones, but if you need the extended battery life, you can't go wrong with either of these phones. Although Samsung definitely has the edge when it comes to fast charging. Where the S21 Ultra does come out on top is the in-screen fingerprint reader. I thought Apple was gonna do it this year. Rumors suggested though it got axed close to release, so I guess maybe next year. Now you can argue that Face ID is technically more secure than the fingerprint scanner and certainly more secure than Samsung's not very good facial recognition. In-screen fingerprint reader, or a fingerprint reader in general, something I feel like most iPhones should have right now, especially the flagship ones. I think this is gonna be my new like 120 hertz hill. I was like, bring back Touch ID. But if Apple is looking to model their own in-screen fingerprint reader after a company out there, undoubtedly it's gotta be Samsung, because no one is doing it better than them right now. Price between these two is a very different thing. The starting price for the S21 Ultra is $1,200, while pricing for the 13 Pro and Pro Max are less at $1,000, $1,100 respectively, for 128 gigabyte model of the phones. So not a huge difference between the two, but certainly enough to alter a buying decision. However, most people are not paying full price for Samsung phones. If you haven't seen, Samsung, Apple, and carriers in general are giving absolute insane trade-in deals, which is cool. Samsung in particular though, sort of after qualified trade-in on Samsung's website, you can get S21 Ultra for as little as $600. On the Apple side, you can get an iPhone 13 Pro for as little as $360. And some carrier deals are crazy now as well, with new phones being free if your phone is a previous year's model. Plus with Samsung though, and this is awesome, you can stack trade-ins. So if you have a bunch of phones just lying around, you're probably getting an S21 Ultra for less and maybe even free. And from what I can remember, the price of an entry top-tier flagship phone has never been this low. So I don't think there's ever been a better time to consider upgrading your phone. So when talking about Apple and Samsung, it tends to be more of a like, whatever flavor of OS you prefer. They're both pretty amazing at this point, and they're both refined. And that's more or less the case with these two phones. Samsung's known for packing just a ton with their operating system. And I think Android 11, which we have here on the S21 Ultra, is really good, and Samsung's take on it has gotten better and refined. And I think now it's arguably one of the best versions of Android out there. iOS 15 is another story. So I think most iPhone users are used to the OS having issues when they're first released, and iOS 15 has been a buggy mess. I couldn't use my Apple Watch to unlock my phone for the first like 2-ish weeks of release. That's been annoying. The switch from iOS of 14 to 15 has broken things in general. Now those will ultimately get fixed, but sort of not the smooth OS experience I think most people were expecting. I'm looking forward to iOS 15 getting more refined and stable with each update. It's not a reason to not get the iPhone. I don't think any of this is a reason to like not upgrade, but at least the first couple of weeks of iOS 15 have not gone as smoothly, I think, as Apple had imagined. All right, so thought process time. And again, I realize there's a big gap between when these two phones came out. If what you care about is zoom and having the best zoom and the best display, S21 Ultra is going to be an absolute beast. If video is your jam, if low light's your jam, if battery life is your jam, the iPhone 13 is going to be the way to go. And again, I'm excited to revisit this versus when the S22 comes out. But if I put these two phones on a table and I say I'm going to travel for a week or 2 weeks and I can only take one phone with me, I'm picking up the iPhone 13 Pro Max for its battery life, for its high refresh rate display, for the Apple ecosystem, and for everything this phone packs in one package. Is a really awesome device. It's iterative from the past couple years, but what it does very well. I just wish it did a little bit more.